Are you ready to break through the mental barriers holding you back? Welcome to the Mind Mastered Secrets of Excellence with Don Grant. Since 2001, Don has been guiding elite athletes like PGA Tour champions, Olympians, and world champions, and everyday individuals toward peak performance. With a proven track record, including helping Vijay Singh win the 2008 FedEx Cup, and her PGA Tour clients averaging a 219% increase in earnings. Dawn knows what it takes to succeed. She's the inventor of the Mind Mastered app, author of 7 Strokes in 7 Days, a sought-after speaker worldwide, and the proud owner of Amelia Shotgun Sports in Northeast Florida. Join us as we dive into powerful strategies, inspiring interviews, and Dawn's unique insights to help you excel in every area of your life, sports, career, relationships, and beyond. And now, here's your host, Don Grant.
Folks, welcome to the Mind Mastered Secrets of Excellence. This is Don Grant. I thank you for following and tuning in and, looking for ways to overcome challenges in your life or in your work or your relationships. And, what are some of the secrets to people that have found ways to excel in their lives. And today I have Nik Bremer, who is an entrepreneur and owns Amelia Island Bait and Tackle and also Old Town Bait and Tackle, which is in Old Town, Fernandina Beach. So thanks for joining me, Nik.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Sure. I'm excited to get to know you. And I've lived in the Fernandina Beach area since 1994. So, I've watched things come and go. I've watched especially the Old Town Bait and Tackle. I've seen that sitting there in the past. I've seen the improvements that you've made. And so I'm curious, to get to know you and what brought you to where you are now and, some insight you may have. So where are you born and where are you from?
I'm just all over the place, right? I was born in Louisville, Kentucky, and didn't stay there. Well, actually, just born there. My folks lived right over the river in a small town called Seymour, Indiana, and my folks split, and my mom moved up to Chicago area, and that's pretty much where I was raised. Lived in the suburbs of Chicago, just Plains, Mount Prospect, right by O'Hare Airport. It's probably flown through there 100 times.
Right.
But, cool, diverse neighborhood, just good people, just in general. But yeah, I've traveled all over the place, lived in multiple places, and finished school in Chicago, and moved out to Colorado for some college, and then pushed a little further west, and ended up in San Diego area. Moved up to Los Angeles, then back to San Diego, back to Chicago, and then out to LA again. And then ultimately ended up in Fernandina Beach. So kind of backstory there is that my folks, my stepmom's originally from Keystone Heights, which is kind of central Florida there, and they wanted to relocate to Florida to kind of slow things down. And I've been coming to visit them for 15 plus years now, and my wife and I wanted a family, but living out in Los Angeles, it's just you're just treading water. If you're not making big bucks, it makes it tough to live out there and actually get somewhere. And having a family or a house of your own or anything like that is, it's just tough to do.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
Ultimately, we decided to relocate to Fernandina, where we knew it was, safe, uh, open, had opportunity, and just really enjoyed the small town vibe and how relaxed it is here. But kind of came to be like the opportunity just kind of landed in our lap. So I was for my entire work career, pretty much I was in the hospitality industry. So uh, I did everything in the front of the house and uh, ran bars and nightclubs and did that thing and ultimately started transitioning into like liquor rep work. So on the supply side of things, and I was at a meeting one day and my dad called, and I hit ignore. I grabbed the call after the meeting, and he calls again, and I'm like, yeah, this is strange. I mean, my dad my dad and I have a great relationship, and but it's not. It's like one of those things that we don't talk on the phone that often, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he's probably got something to tell me, and then he shot me a text and, hey Nick, give me a call when you get a minute. And I'm like, oh no, like,
Oh,
is
bad
there an
news.
emergency, right? Like
All right.
we just didn't have that time on the
Frequency or
phone
something.
that often,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I said, hey guys, excuse me, I got to step out. I got to take a call. I might have an emergency here. So I call my dad. I'm like, Dad, what's up? He's like, Nick, the bait shop's up for sale. I'm like, Dad, and I'm in Los Angeles, right? So like, he's on the East Coast and I'm on the West Coast. And I'm like, Dad, what bait shop? He's like, the one on the island here. I go, that's great. Like what do you want me to do? He's like, you should buy it. I'm like, Dad, I live in Los Angeles. Like, what would I do running a bait shop, on complete opposite side of the country? He's like, well, just think about it. And I'm like, all right, Dad, I'll think about it. So I got home and I told my wife, my fiance at the time, or actually it was my wife, sorry. And I'm like, my dad wants us to move to Florida and buy this bait shop. She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I know. I was just confused as you are. But we like sat down on the couch and we're like, all right, well, like let's just like throw it out there, right? Like, what are the
Right.
advantages to living here, and what are the advantages of living there, and the disadvantages of both, right? We had a sheet, and on one side, advantages, disadvantages,
Nice.
and the pros like by far outweighed the cons to living in Florida, and I think the pros of being in California, or actually the cons of living in Florida were the bugs on my wife's list, right? She
Oh yeah, that was
get
on my
get
dad's list too. Yeah.
so you know whatever, we sat down and did that, right? And 2 weeks later, all of a sudden, COVID hits, right? And
Mm.
everyone is just so uncertain, and just no one knows what's going on. The whole world's like, you know, what's going to happen. So of course, our industry, my wife works in the hospitality industry as well, and um, they closed her bar down, they closed my bar down. Um, the liquor industry, like, there's on premise and off premise. So on premises, your bars and restaurants, and then off premises, your liquor stores. Well, all on premises, now shut down. So we don't have work,
Oh
and
wow.
guess who calls? Here's my dad. My dad's like, hey, what are you guys doing? I'm like, we're just sitting at home, staring at a white wall, like not knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
He's like, tell you what, why don't you guys come out to Florida, and he's like, I'll get you guys a flight on my miles, and just come hang out. Florida is much different than California. I mean, we were completely locked down in California. I mean, if you were
Yeah.
seen on the street, you were like shunned.
Wow.
But in Florida, you know how it was. It was
Hmm.
kind of normal life. You kept your distance. You wore a mask inside for the first month or so, whatever it may have been, and but you kind of went on with everyday life, which was awesome.
Hmm. Hmm.
So we grabbed the dog, we pack you know a small bag, and cruise out, and we literally just never came home, or never
You
went back
drove?
to. No, we flew.
Okay.
Um, and we people are like, you're crazy for flying, like you're just asking to get COVID and you're gonna die and blah blah blah. And we got gloves on and mask on, and like
Hazmat suit.
no one's like in the airport in Los Angeles, and then
Yeah.
get to Jacksonville, and we come off the plane and people are looking at us like we're aliens, right? We got a mask and gloves, and so I got home and
Gotta love
showered and
Florida.
scrubbed, and like, oh, I hope I didn't get COVID.
Yeah.
But no one knew what was going on, so
Yeah.
we had to take the precautionary measures, and
Yeah.
uh, it, we kind of checked things out, and um, lined everything up, and Jimmy
Wow.
Johnson, the previous owner, was just really awesome throughout the whole process. You know, part of the deal was, we buy it and he hangs out for a couple of weeks and kind of shows us the ropes and introduces us to the distributors and
Yeah.
any other contacts that we needed. And live bait's a pain in the ass, but
Yeah, I've
it's
noticed.
something we got to have. So, worked us through all the systems and ordering and, any other questions that we, had. And him and his wife were just like super helpful throughout the whole thing. And, that's their business that they had started in 96. So,
Oh, wow.
they had that place, you know, dialed in for all those years. And
Yeah. Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
when we took it over, we kind of put our spin on it and, um, kind of freshened it up a little bit.
Mhm.
It was a bait shop when we bought it, right? It was kind of everything that you'd expect, kind of dark and
Yep.
cluttered and dirty, smelly some mornings. And those are all things that like I wanted to kind of take care of. So we put a, fresh coat of paint on the wall and cleaned up and reorganized, had some more space. And
I was gonna say, it's not the exact same space, right? Because
no,
I
no, no.
remember going in the other one, and it felt smaller.
Yeah, yeah, it was
Uh,
actually four doors down. So
okay.
our our shopping center has seven suites, and we were in suite three, and then
Mhm.
ultimately moved down to the end unit there in suite seven. So yeah, I
So
remember,
mhm.
but there was, I don't know, it was maybe like a month or two into it, right? My shrimper comes in and he's like, oh, and so there's a to the audience, it's a long, slender space, and when you walk in, the cashier counter was right there. Then past that, there was three display cases that had
Mhm.
reels in. And my shrimper comes in, he's like, nice work. He's like, you needed some display cases in here. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Uh,
He's like, well, you added these, right? I'm like, no, these are, they came with the shop. He's like, I've been in here for years and I've never seen these because the counters were just covered with other
yeah.
stuff, right? So
Yeah.
clean that out and turn the lights on and showcase the reels. And
Nice.
yeah, I was blown away that he didn't even know that they were there. But
So I'm
yeah,
curious, have you always been a fisherman or interested in owning a store? Like, what made your father think that you may be interested in buying it from the get-go?
yeah, it's so him and I, he raised me fishing and growing up in the Midwest, it was always bass fishing, but we take trips down to Florida and his uncle lived in Fort Lauderdale, so we go to the Everglades and go bass fishing and that kind of progressed. So anywhere I go to a new place, we line up a charter. When I lived out in Colorado, I'd do some trout fishing out there. Then when I relocated to Southern California, I'd take long range trips out of Point Loma and we'd go tuna fishing and whatever else we got
Oh,
into.
yeah, nice. Yeah.
Um, so it was cool. So when I started visiting my dad here in Florida, we went out on a charter and inshore fishing is just kind of like, in my opinion, like a hybrid between the two, where you're using lighter tackle as you would use for bass fishing, but you're catching these redfish that are just pound for pound, just heavy hitters. So
Yeah.
I really kind of fell in love with like that inshore fishing game. So
Yeah.
any anything I do, I try to perfect, and it was I don't know. I mean, 6 years ago, if you told me this is going to be my life, I'd be like, not a chance. Like can't see that happening at all. But again, these type of things just present themselves, and
Wow.
sometimes you got to go out on a limb and take a risk and go for it. But yeah, fishing's always been one of my passions, one of my hobbies, and absolutely love it. It's my therapy. Like I was in the morning, or I'm sorry, I was in the water this morning at sunrise, and I love when there's a west wind and it's way down out there, and I could throw top water. So I wade, waist chest deep and throw top water and watch the sunrise. And I mean, even if I don't catch a fish, it's just
That
therapy
sounds
being on the
amazing.
water, just connected. And today's bite was epic. My buddy and I went out and I had five trout over 20, 24 being the biggest, and we had probably over 20 fish total between the two of us, and just
Wow.
watching the sunrise and getting that salt water in your skin. It's a beautiful thing.
That sounds
So
amazing. So,
yeah,
do you do that very often?
do I do
Like
that in
go
the morning
fishing?
often?
Yeah,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
go.
as much as I can. But the thing is, being a business owner,
Uh-huh.
you're married to your business, so like everyone that comes in is like, where are the fish? What's happening? And a lot of times I just have to relay information that I hear from other people because I can't fish nearly as much as I want to. And
Yeah.
believe it or not, my wife hates fishing, so it's not a perfect marriage on that end, but I love her to death, and I got a 4-year-old son and another one on the way. So between the two businesses and family, it definitely consumes a lot of my time. But any uh, any moment I actually have free, I'm usually on the water trying to catch
How
fish.
often
And
does that end up being for you that you go
uh,
fishing?
probably like 2-3 hours a week.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
give a small taste, and like
Yeah.
it's usually before work or after work. I'll
Yeah.
find a convenient place to stop and at least get my therapy. That's
Nice.
that's one thing my wife, I try to explain to my wife. It's like, hey, it's not about catching fish necessarily. It's just about kind of having that calmness, that quiet. You could zen out and zone out, and if you catch a fish, awesome. That adds excitement to the trip. But it's not always about the fish that you catch. It's just about that
Yeah.
therapy. That's
I
that's
could
what I say.
understand. That's what so Joe, my husband now, we just got married a few weeks ago. Um
Congrats.
thanks. He's the fisherman in the family, right? But so I love it when he, because I would definitely would not go fishing without him. Like that's just not who I am. But if he says I want to go out on the boat on Tuesday, or I'm going to go fishing, I try to clear my schedule because I think it's so beautiful out there. When I first moved to the area back in '94, I was like, that looks like swamp to me. I came from the Northeast, and I just couldn't see what all the thrill was about. At that time, the houses along the beach, most of them were little beach shacks, and I thought, how does somebody who's, I don't know, CEO of Porsche retire here? Like, it's like, why, But anyways, it's been a while since then, and I've really come to appreciate. Like, I absolutely love Amelia Island. Joe and I travel a lot for work and fun, but I've not found anything that I think is as beautiful or as great in so many ways as Amelia. And so when I'm out there, I might fish a little bit, but I'm not the one like, I don't know. After like maybe 30 casts, if I'm not catching anything, I'm just ready to chill out. And I'm like, we don't need to leave. Like, I'm totally good whether I'm laying there, sitting there, watching him fish, just looking at the birds, the nature, like whatever it is. And I agree, it is so peaceful. And yeah, I had a lady say to me, I feel like it was about a week ago. She was like, I hate fishing and my husband loves it. She's like, I don't want to be out there swatting gnats and mosquitoes. And honestly, I think that's only happened once out of 100 times I've been out there because the wind's usually blowing. And
Yeah,
um, yeah, it's been tricky finding fishing spots. We hit the jackpot for about, I don't know, if it was a month or two. We found some holes where redfish were, and it was like every time you cast, you were pulling something good in. And all of a sudden, like I said, I'm not a fisherman, right? But so all this is fairly new to me. You go back to that spot and it's like nothing, 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 nothing. Months. It's been months of nothing there, and we keep saying we're going to find new spots, but we haven't really done that. So, um, it is even that's interesting, right? Trying to figure it out and not
oh,
get
absolutely.
frustrated.
It's a game of chess, right? And that's why they call it fishing and not catching. Not to
Yeah,
be so cliche, but it's a game of strategy, right? There's technique to it and understanding currents and tides and weather patterns and fish they are a creature of habit, right? So if you know that you're catching the first outgoing tide at this location, odds are they're probably there. But if not, then you got to figure out a new game plan. So that's why I use I use technology to help me out anytime, especially anytime I'm in a new location, and I'm
Yeah.
learning water because I could document where I caught what and at what time, what part of the tide, and
Hmm.
all that information to you know if if I go out and I'm fishing and it's middle incoming tide, right? I pull it up and I've got different places saved for an incoming tide, and it just helps out a lot. So
And those are true any time of the year? See, I'm
for
amazed.
them for the most part, different times of the year based on water temps. Some
Right.
fish are seasonal where they show up, when the water's cooler. Other fish are there year round, and um, but yeah, I mean that's the beauty of it is just kind of figuring out the
Hmm.
patterns of these fish and trying to trying to stay ahead of the game and outsmart them. And
Right.
yeah,
Right.
it's fun. It's a challenge, no doubt.
So you said, so you're in California, COVID's happening, your dad says come to Florida, you pack up, and you said you basically never went back. So what happened when you got to Florida? Was it the weather? Was it like this opportunity that was like, oh my God, this is great, or what?
Yeah, I mean it was one of those things, and it all happened so fast. Like it was like, oh, we're on vacation, right? We're chilling, and all of a sudden we're signing paperwork and buying a bait shop. But there was definitely a ton of encouragement from my folks to move down here because of course it's nice being close to family, and
Yeah.
they have just been just a tremendous help on every regards of you know relocating and starting a business. My stepmother Lisa, she's in the shop multiple days a week and does kind of a lot of the admin work, the paperwork,
Nice.
payroll, all that stuff. And um, my dad tries to be around as much as possible. And he did a mud minnow run today, so we had to run up to Georgia and grab 9,000 mud minnows, and he hopped in the truck and did that. And yeah, it's a family business, and we're just super happy with it, right? It's everything and more than what we were expecting. So we
Nice.
yeah, when we originally bought it, right, it was in that week three,
Yeah.
and then COVID was tricky with buying, right, through distribution. So there's one of the
Mhm.
main distributors, and I don't know how the rest of them did it, but Big Rock is a place that we use a lot to buy goods. And through COVID, these huge warehouses, they were only allowed to have one person per aisle, right? And
Oh, wow.
I've never been in that warehouse, but I'm assuming that these warehouses aisles are huge and there's thousands of items on each side, but that just slows down productivity tremendously. So the wait
Yeah.
time on our orders, which usually would get there in within a week, are taking 8, 9, 10 weeks to come.
Mm.
And they
Hmm.
pack it all up, and all of a sudden, all your orders are compiled into one, and you get 4 pallets of supplies, and they land on your doorstep. And we got this. The original shop was small. And there's like 4 pallets would take up a quarter of your shop. We didn't have the space. So on the end unit, unit number 7 was an old Fast Signs, and they had
Right. Okay. Yep. I
relocated,
remember that. Yeah.
but it was an empty space, and it was about twice the size of our current or our space at the time. We
Right.
contacted our landlord, like, hey, we kind of got an issue here. We got all this supply, all this product, and we don't have anywhere to put it. Could we use that space for the time
Mm.
being, get it all into the system, stage it up, and bring it down? He's like, yeah, no problem. And then that would just continue to happen, right? We would get it all there, then all of a sudden another 2, 3 pallets would show up, and we'd do it again. And then we would do this after hours, right? Like we'd close the
Yeah.
shop at 5:30, and here we are at 8:30 at night, doing inventory and adding stuff to the system, and it's dark out, and we got a pizza, we got a couple beers, and we're
Right.
doing all this stuff, and we're sitting there, we're like, yeah, it would be really nice to have, this much room. So we crunched some numbers and we're like, I think we can make it happen. So um, to the day, our year lease kind of ran up and we transitioned into the new location, which we built out exactly the way we wanted to. And the goal was to have it, more spacious, more to choose from, but most importantly, like bright, airy, clean,
Yeah.
didn't stink, right? Like I took all my live bait, anything that smelled, like I relocated to a shed out back. And one of the, believe it or not, one of the main appeals was having a back door. My original location didn't have a back door,
Oh,
so
yeah.
my customers would pull up with their boats and have it be a 15-foot John boat or a 27-inch, offshore or 27-foot offshore boat. They'd pull into the small parking lot up front, and we had this big parking lot in the back. So now I have boat parking in the back, and my bait shed's right there, and they can pull their boat up right next to the bait shed, put their bucket on the stairs there, and get them whatever they want, and they're on their way. So more convenience for my customers, and safer just to pull that out without disrupting any of the traffic out front for the other businesses too.
Right, right, right.
Um,
That was clever.
yeah,
Yeah.
but the new space has been a hit, and um, people have been loving it, and we're very happy with you know the progress that we've made over really just that was a year at the time, and COVID was one of those things, and you probably saw it in shooting sport too, where people don't necessarily have to go into the office. Their kids aren't in school. They want to practice social distancing. So it's like, oh, let's get out. Let's learn something new. Let's go fishing. Let's go
Yeah.
shooting. Let's learn something new. So outdoor sports kind of skyrocketed, right? Boat sales went through the ceiling, and people are out there because there's no better way to practice social distancing than you know being on a boat by yourself or with your family or on the beach with a ton of space between you and the next guy.
Right.
So fishing sales like also skyrocketed. I
Yeah,
mean,
for sure.
I forget the percentage in spike, but um, fishing licenses like there was, and I don't even know, but way more than
I
the
remember hearing
industry had
about
ever
it.
seen.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So sales were good. So that allowed us to see what it was about, and um, ultimately get new customers too, right? That's the
Yeah.
important part. Is I think my years of hospitality have trained me to just be nice to everyone, and get that return business, right? Because when I was bartending, if I was rude to someone, then they'd be like, well, A, it would affect my tip, and B, they'd be like, I'm not going back to that guy, or I'm not coming back to this place. So it was always that, you know, treat everyone as you would treat yourself or treat your
Right.
family, and make everyone family, and they'll come back. And that's really what we pride ourselves on, is our customer service. And that's
Nice.
when I hire, I hire for personality, not necessarily. I mean, if they got great personality and love to fish, even better. But um, I could train them to do what I require of them, but I can't train them on their personality.
Yeah, right. Whoops.
So just having friendly employees, and people that have a smile on, and greet people that walk through the door, and that's just super important to me, because I've
Yeah.
been to plenty of big shops through my day where I'm new in an area, and say, hey, I'm in from Chicago, and they're like, you gosh darn Yankee, like go home, like I'm not telling you anything about our fishing in our area.
Right.
You're on your own. Good luck. And it's like
Right.
not asking for your honey hole, but saying like, what are they hitting on? Is there a general area that I could go to and test my luck there?
Right.
But you
Right.
typically get the cold shoulder from a lot of people. Well, not a lot, but some that I go to when I'm traveling, and that's just it's a turnoff for me, right? And
Yeah.
I won't go back to that shop again. So it is
Right.
what it is. I just try to steer away from that model.
Well, that makes total sense. And you guys were very fortunate to, I mean, oddly, Yeah, here you were in the midst of COVID, both lost your jobs because of shutdowns, and you take the risk of buying a business that ends up thriving because of COVID times, right? Which I
Right.
think is pretty incredible. And it was such a risk. I mean, because I would assume that your mindset was like, I don't know, unless you kind of had some forethought. Like, did you realize that people were fishing a lot before you bought it? And realizing that COVID had really bumped that up a lot? Wouldn't it
Like no,
be?
no one would guess, what COVID would do. I mean, there was so
Yeah.
much uncertainty that, is everyone on this planet going to die, or is it just a hoax,
Right.
or like, is people going to be cooped up in their house, or you know,
Right.
being out, right? So, um, what affected us was when they closed the beaches, and I think that
Yeah.
lasted for a couple
Mhm.
weeks,
Yeah.
tops.
Yeah.
It's a spring break. I think it hit like spring break time, right? So all the kids were out in Miami Beach or wherever it was, and there's a COVID outbreak there. So like all of Florida's like, we're closing the beaches, which is stupid. It's like it's the best place you could be, right? Like imagine if
Right.
you're just hanging out on the beach tomorrow and you got your whole umbrella set up, and you got a beer cracked and you're getting some sun, and someone comes up and puts their towel right next to yours, like 6 feet away or 4 foot away.
Right.
It's like, what the
Right.
hell are you doing? Like you got all this beach right here. We got beautiful big beaches that aren't crowded. um, like
Thank the
that's
Lord.
the place
Yeah.
that you would want to be at to practice social distancing. So as soon as they realized that that was just kind of a spring break thing, they opened them back up, and then
Yeah.
things started ramping up again, and
Yeah.
it was just an awesome experience, just meeting our community, right? And um, there was some people that I was like, again, here's another person that's coming onto our island, and you know,
Right.
goddamn Yankees. I've gotten that plenty of times. But the 99% of the people are just awesome, and just really cool meeting this community and this fishing community, and being part of it. So I'm
Yeah.
very happy with our decision.
Nice. So, what kind of challenges would you say that you faced as a new business owner, new to the area? I mean, I think you're really, again, fortunate that business amped up for you. My shotgun club actually didn't do very well through COVID, amazingly, um, because a lot of other clubs around the country did do well because people recognized it as an outdoor activity. But I don't know, the word wasn't out there enough or something. But yeah, so yeah, and I could tell you as an entrepreneur, I am married to my work. So there's things, I have to make sure I take time for myself, and there's challenges with, having the responsibility and everything. So what do you feel like has been some of your greatest challenges?
Uh, yeah, I mean, like you just said, it's balance in life, right?
Hmm.
Um, it, that that was my biggest challenge for sure, was my home life, because like just being a business owner, have it be year one or year 20, that's your livelihood, right? And you've taken all this time building it, or at least building the capital to get there. And if you lose that, then it's game over. So um, my wife is used to having me at home in the same hours as her. And that first, you know, year, 2 years that we were open, I was in the shop 70, 80 hours a week. And that's
Yeah.
just what I had to do, because I had to, A, get it to the point where I wanted it to, and I had to be there as the face of the business, building these relationships with new customers, old customers, everyone really.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest challenge, was balance, right? And soon enough, I was able to start taking a couple days off, and um, that made her a lot happier. But she had a much more difficult time relocating than I did. So
Hmm.
um, it was just the stress of being COVID, home at COVID, and not really being able to do much because she didn't know anybody here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we got pregnant like 8 months into it, so now she was pregnant, and
Yeah.
hormones and emotions are going, and then she became a new mom, and that's like, lack of sleep and something
Yeah.
that's completely new to both of us. Um, and then yes, it's just I had plenty to keep me busy, and she didn't. As a busybody, she didn't have
Yeah, it
that
makes
on her
sense.
plate, keeping her busy. I mean, of course, our little rascal definitely kept her busy, but it was something that was new to her and stressful, and
Right.
we all
Right.
deal with stress differently. But she's she's been by my side throughout this whole thing, and I'm just very fortunate to have her in my life and be supportive of a decision that or a risk that you never know, could have gone
Yeah.
either way. Um, but we've settled in, and we're happy with the decision, like I said. So that was
Yeah.
that that was my biggest challenge. But as far as industry is concerned, just lack of supply. When the supply chain kind of went down and they weren't getting stuff off the boats like they were
Hmm.
used to, and shipping times and all that stuff. And then of course employees. Employees are always going to be a challenge, and I've
Yeah.
been very fortunate and blessed to have a really solid crew. Right, there's some bad apples in there, but you're never going to have a
Uh-huh.
perfect crew at all times. But through this whole thing, right? Like, I mean, I don't. I'd have to look back and see what it was, but you go through the drive-through at Taco Bell now, and it's like now hiring starting at $18 an hour. I'm like,
I
geez, like what?
okay,
When did
I
that
know.
happen? Right? I should know what minimum wage is, but I haven't gotten
Right.
close to that at all. Right? Like
Right.
these are like high school kids
It was
that are like,
killing me when they were doing that. I know.
yeah, high school kids. Um, I got high school kids, or I've got retired dudes, and a few like people in between there. But high school kids, looking for $17 an hour, as like a summer job, like was just like, man, it's like that the
Yeah, that was
hourly
brutal.
hourly is just like crushes us. But then again, like I want to concentrate on customer service, and you can't have that customer service if you don't have a couple heads in the shop, right?
It was such a short window of time where I went from paying people $13, $15 an hour to like 17, 22 an hour. Like I'm talking to like a year or something. Like all of a
Right.
sudden it shifted. I'm like, how are small businesses supposed to keep up with that? That's such a significant shift in such a short period of time. Like, not that I wouldn't have given people raises and worked their way up, but it just
Right.
happened so quickly. You had to do it.
Absolutely. It is, if you wanted anything of quality or personality or talent, like you had to pay the extra. And again, I'm more than happy to pay someone for what they're worth. But, when minimum wage is at 8.50, and I mean, my first jobs out of the gate, like that's what it was. It was minimum wage,
I
and
know.
you worked your way up, and um, through that one year, it was, they take the living costs of Miami, and they say across Florida, this is what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So when
Mm-hmm.
you have those huge bumps, it affects other markets that are outside of that main,
Right,
you
right.
know, whatever census area that
City,
they
yeah,
base that information on.
yeah,
So yeah, one of my first employees, I think, was at $9 an hour, and
yeah,
now I hire at 15.
yeah,
Right? So like
yeah,
that's $6 difference, and you times that by the hours,
yeah,
throughout the week, and that's just a huge hit to the bottom line. Um,
sure.
and
Yeah.
unfortunately, we our product is all priced at MSRP. But you saw through, I mean, you've probably seen ammo and
Mhm,
arms. The prices spiked through that time because
mhm.
in order to make all that stuff, they got to pay their customers
Supply and demand, yeah,
more money, and
definitely.
or not customers, but their employees more money, and it goes up on that end, and then people are like, well, why is your stuff so high? Like it it's not. It's MSRP. Like, but there's just such a price spike over the last year with
Yeah,
supply and demand and everything that was going on in the world. Um, Eventually, it calmed out, but I would say like it's good 16 to 20% increase on all
for
goods.
sure.
It's just nuts, right? Like overnight.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
Definitely another
surprised.
challenge there.
Definitely. And to be a small business that survived it is pretty awesome, because those things between fuel cost and manufacturing cost and wholesale costs, everything, like not just payroll, but everything just increased at a time where you didn't really know if your client base was going to be consistent or come in, and it was rough. It was
Yeah.
rough, but yeah. So did the previous owners own Old Town Bait and Tackle, or is that a new endeavor that you decided to take on?
Yeah, they did not. I believe the Johnsons opened up a second location, um, which was down on the bridge on the south end.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and they had that for a while, but that place, there's traffic through there, of course, because everyone fishes on the bridge. But when the park closes, there's nothing around there. So I think there was a lot of issues with people breaking in, kicking in the doors,
Oh,
vandalizing,
wow.
stuff like that, because
Mm-hmm.
you weren't close to it, right? And there wasn't any traffic through there to
Right.
like uh, deter people from doing that. Um,
Right.
but yeah, to my knowledge, they had that for a little while. But the other location um, had been ran by two other couples. Most recently was John and Teresa, and they had leaders and thinkers there. And that was kind of a neighborhood staple for years. And
Mm-hmm.
just kind of, I guess it was just, I really don't know the story behind them kind of throwing in the towel. But it remained vacant for a couple months, and I got got in contact with the landlord and said, "Hey, what's going on here?" And we worked out a deal, and then we started construction on that place, and that was literally it's a shed on the water, which the location's fantastic, right? And you got a big parking lot with a boat ramp, but the building itself was, I'm
Mm-hmm.
surprised it was still there. Like
Right.
it's a weathered shack that
Right.
we
It's
we
true.
literally took down to the studs. It was when you went in there when we first started renovating. I mean, there was the smell of ammonia from the rats that were in the attic. You could smell that,
Mm.
and cigarette smoke and mildew and all that fun stuff. So yeah, we literally ripped out all the drywall, re-insulated, re-drywall, did some electrical work, put a
Uh,
brand new roof on it. Um, Kind of built out a different layout in there, and then painted her up good, and redid the bait system too. So that place is it's more of your essentials, right? Kind of your last. You're putting the boat in there, or going to the main boat launch at TD Bartles, and you're grabbing bait, grabbing ice, grabbing some beers, a couple hooks, a couple weights, and that's that. When my main shop is kind of has everything your rods,
right.
reels, um, really everything that you need.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of how that came to be. So um, yeah, we opened up that second location about 2.5 years in, and it's been going good. It's That one's much more of a struggle than what our original location is, just because it's so weather based, right? If someone's not putting a boat in, then we're a ghost town up there. But if it's
Right.
a beautiful day and in the summertime and the wind's not blowing, like that parking lot's full and we do good. So it's a game of give and take and highs and lows, and it just have to kind of balance it out through the year in order to really see it being worthwhile.
Yeah. 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 That makes sense, though. It's not like you're gonna just swing on by there to purchase something else. It's definitely for those people in that area that are fishing.
Yeah,
Um.
it's not it's in a location that's more residential, right? When Mid
Mhm.
Island Bait and Tackle is kind of right in the center of the island, and a lot of traffic through there, and someone's going across the
Mhm.
street to the grocery store, then they swing by and grab some stuff, whatever it may be. So definitely a lot more traffic through my original shop.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts or feelings on your mindset and your ability to be successful at what you do?
You just have to give it your all, right? If you're going to marry a business or start something, I mean, it doesn't matter what you do, if you're an employee or you're an owner. I mean, I was always taught to, give it your all and just do your best. And the mindset is it's just really mental, right? And it's just being in the game and knowing that there's going to be good days and bad days, but all in all, you're doing it for yourself. You're doing it for your family, and the harder you work, the more, hopefully, the more it comes back to you financially and your happiness level and all that. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's as far as the mindset's concerned, I literally love going to work. Well, I don't have a problem going to work every day. When I worked plenty of other jobs working for the man, where it's like, I got to go to work today. Like this sucks. But
Yeah.
waking up at 6 a.m. is okay to me now because I go and I talk with people that love to fish. And the beautiful thing about fishermen is that 98% of the time they're super happy, right? Because they're going fishing.
Yeah.
It's not like
Yeah, it's true.
you're working at whatever retail space or whatever it is where they're just angry and they bring their personal life into your establishment with them. It's they're happy, they're hitting the water, they're fishing with their dad, they're fishing with their buddies, and they're gonna go out and have a great day. So that kind of trickles down and it keeps a smile on my face, and I love hearing you know what people are doing, and I love when kids come into the shop and they're
Mm.
amped up about it. Um, that's another big thing is just the families, like the amount of families that I meet that either are new to it or just have a passion for it. It's like the kids are like, we love having them in because they're just, they, they get super excited about it. So,
Yeah.
we love having them come in and got stickers for them. And, we just try to do our best, right? We all know that we all started someplace, right? If it's, firing a shotgun for the first time or wetting the line, like we all have to learn. So that kind of comes back down to our customer service, sitting down and saying, okay, this is what you got. This is what we got to do. This is how you tie that knot. This is how you bait that. And someone, someone would be like, man, he spent a lot of time with them. And, the sale was $16. Like, well, but that's not it. It's about them learning and about them feeling comfortable with us
Yeah.
to come back and take our advice or ask more questions, or when they are ready to upgrade from that Zebco push button to a new spinner rod, they're going to come ask our opinion on it, and we're going to show them, what would suit them
It's
better.
true. Right.
And it's not
Yeah.
always about the sales. I know people come in and be like, hey, I'm in town for the weekend. I want to go surf fishing. What do I need? And I easily could be like, hey, this is what you need, the $300 combo, and this is what you need to put on there, and this and that, and I get upsell, but that's not the point. The point is giving them the product that they need in order to get out there and catch some fish without breaking the bank. But if it's someone that's like, hey, I'm a die-hard fisherman and I'm going to fish till the day I die, then it's like, okay, this $300 combo, you invest the money into it now, you're not going to have to replace it over and over again. And,
Right.
down the road, you're going to save money by investing in this proper combo opposed to, having your reels lock up on you every other year and having to buy a new one every other year.
Mm.
So it's
Mhm.
just getting
Mhm.
people in the right gear and just, telling them the truth and treating them as you would yourself or other family members or friends.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great mindset to have and definitely important. I think it's hugely um beneficial that you came from the hospitality industry because you recognize that, right? And you're carrying it over where I guess similar to a shotgun club. A lot of shotgun clubs are kind of like a trailer with some grumpy old man running it.
Right.
It's all dirty and like someone's just paying for targets and leaving. And I've got this clubhouse that looks like a cigar bar with like chandeliers
Nice.
and loungy and everything. And to me, well, and that's what I could bring to the table because I wasn't like a competitive shooter or even a regular shotgun shooter. I was a business owner, buying a business and making it better than it was and bringing, technology and all this stuff. But yeah, so And the other thing that you said that I think is kind of funny when I think about the shotgun club compared to fishing, both clearly outdoor sports, but um, yeah, fishermen are typically happy, right? They're going to relax, or they just took time off, or they just got done working and they're going to go do something they love. And when I think about that versus the shotgun club, there are certain people that are like, I just got out of work and I'm coming to break some clays, but usually they're competitive, right? Or they are blowing off steam, or or they're on a family outing or bringing some friends or whatever. But the back end of it, before they leave, they might be frustrated. They're coming back in, right? Like your fishermen, they're out there, whether they catch things or not. You're not seeing them in the back end. If these folks don't break targets, they might be frustrated or really beating themselves up, or possibly not even coming back. So um, yeah, so I see some similarities, but I also see where it's not necessarily the same outdoorsy folks, like, or the mindset that they're in when they're there. Yeah.
No, I could see that for sure. There's a ton of frustration in both of our sports, right? But at least
Yeah.
one you're able to relax in. And your sport is
Yeah.
good for blowing off steam, and getting some frustrations out. Hopefully only at targets, and
Right. For sure. Yeah, people like that it's a unique experience. But and I would say, because I do monthly competitions too, so the competitors that come for the monthly competitions, they're like set on a goal, and so they're either happy or not when they leave. But the regular folks are seeing it like something unique and different, and like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I can shoot a shotgun. So yeah, yeah, but there is that possibility of frustration on the backside that we're still facing as a business, where you as a bait shop, you're not responsible for whether they found the honey hole or not, right?
no, I
Yeah.
I do my best to put them in general areas, right? And um, I walk through more so like technique and what you're looking for, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we have a lot of water, and
Yeah.
there's fish in 10% of that water. So when you
Yeah.
start to analyze a certain area, uh, you could learn how to figure out, hey, there's probably nothing right here, but they're probably right here because you got a piece of structure and there's a fast moving current and there's an eddy here. And that's what
Hmm.
I try to teach people, right? The technique behind that, and not just, hey, go to this place.
For
Um,
sure.
because that's all part of the learning process, right? Kind of knowing what to look for. And as fishermen in the area, right, you have that trial and error for all those years, and then you find your honey hole, and the last thing you're going to do is share your honey hole with other people that you may or may not want to be there. So it's more about the technique and really what
I
you're
like
looking for.
that. Do you ever offer like, hey, little fishing chat once a month where you teach people what you just said? What things to
I
look
literally
for
do it. I literally do it every day when people
all
come
day.
in and say,
Yeah.
well, new to the area, what am I looking for? And again, that
Yeah.
goes back to customer service and getting them in the right gear and um,
Yeah.
you know, training them to know what to look for. Or when they hit the beach, what am I doing, right? Because Amelia Island it's an island surrounded by water, and there's so many different types of fishing, right? You could pond hop in the retention ponds and catch bass here. You can fish backwater and catch, an array of fish, or you go on the beach and, catch pompano, or troll off the beach and catch kingfish. Or you could run 60 miles and catch, pelagics. It's just a wealth of fishery here that is just so awesome.
My entrepreneur brain is like, oh my gosh, you could make it a little like new to the area, want to learn about fishing, want to learn about shore fishing, want to learn about, I
Yeah,
think you could do
clinics for
that.
sure. Clinics are
Yeah.
are
Is that a
definitely
thing?
something that I've definitely considered, right? It's just that little thing called time, and
Oh
and
yeah.
having the time to do it, and having that balance between work and home, and keeping everyone happy. But definitely something that I want to get going. I want to set up a kids tournament over the summertime,
Mm,
to get, 20, 30, 40 kids out on the beach and, have prizes and, set
fun.
up a barbecue and get parents together and just kind of teach them, what you're looking for, right? How far you got to cast and what baits to use. And whoever catches the most fish or the biggest fish could ultimately win a prize or whatever it is. So I'm still kind of working that out. And I talked about like local, um, like monthly tournaments where it's based and in a week's time, right? Because we all have different schedules, right? There's
Right.
there's a weekend warrior, or there's the guy that
Hmm.
works the night shift at the mill that gets off at you know
Mm,
8 a.m. and works all night. And then there's your 9 to 5er, right? Or people like
hmm.
us that are just always working. So to have a tournament that's over a week long,
Hmm.
and kind of document things via iPhone camera, um, you know, timestamps, and then all use the same bump board measuring system. And then everyone chips in $10 for the tournament, and whatever you get 50 people and there's $500 pot. So,
Exactly.
and bragging rights. And that's the fun thing. Just make it friendly, not so competitive, but give you something to get out there and have fun with and have some bragging rights. So that's something that I've been working on too, to kind of.
We're literally doing exactly what you just said at the Shotgun Club. Our men's league is doing it, and I don't know if it's a common model or what. And they have this little window of time that they can turn in scorecards, and then at the end they're going to look at those scores and have a tournament with a handicap. Blah blah blah. Anyways, same idea though. People have different schedules and different times where they can do things, and kind of opening it up. You and I could even do something that's like shooting fish and shoot and kind of tie them together somehow.
That would be
You got
cool. Let's
my
definitely
brain's
talk
going
about that.
crazy. Yeah.
I know I'm always thinking about new stuff too, right? And it's like, well, you know, it's yeah. We well, this quick story. My one of my shrimpers, my go-to shrimper, his name's Eddie. You might see him down at the farmer's market on Saturdays. His suspenders on and big belly,
Okay.
slinging shrimp. Awesome guy. But he came in one day and he's like, Nick, he's like, you know anyone that wants to buy a shrimp boat? I'm like, I don't, man. He's like, all right,
Yeah.
if you do, let me know. And I'm like, all right. So, you know, went home, thought about it, and then I met up with my folks, a day or two later. Like, hey, Eddie's selling his shrimp boat. They're like, why? Like, I guess like his main account like went out of business, and like it doesn't make sense for him to have the shrimp boat. He's got and this is a river boat, right? So you're dragging on the inside,
Yeah.
catching more
Okay.
bait shrimp, like smaller shrimp. But then he has a big ocean boat that he goes out and catches eating shrimp.
Okay.
And start talking about it. I'm like, it doesn't make sense for us to buy a shrimp boat. Like we sell thousands and thousands of pounds of shrimp a year,
Right.
and it seems like every other day when I get off the phone with one of my shrimpers, they're like, "Yeah, can't go shrimping
Don't have
tomorrow.
to.
I'm going to the doctor." Like, yeah, okay, cool. Like,
Yeah, they're pretty laid back dudes, right?
yeah, yeah, but like, I'm going to the doctor, right? Like, a lot of these dudes, like, the shrimping industry here is it's been just like it's a staple of this community, right? And these guys have been shrimping their entire lives, and and foreign, farm raised shrimp have just destroyed the industry here.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
guys are, hanging it up, or, just I don't know. It's just
Hmm.
it's strange. But for me, when I know that I could sell thousands and thousands of
Yeah.
pounds of shrimp a year, and all my shrimpers are late 60s, mid 70s, and
Older.
there's not a
Yeah.
generation behind them, it got my mind thinking like, well, what happens when these guys decide to hang it up, right? Or,
Yeah.
you know, God forbid anything bad would happen to them, right? Um, but yeah, so we were like, hey, you know what? Let's do it. So
You did it.
yeah, so we bought his shrimp boat, and Eddie is awesome. Like he's like, hey, he's like, I'll teach you everything that you guys need to learn. And take as much time as you need to allow you to learn the waters and everything that goes along with it. So one of my employees definitely showed interest in just catching bait in general, if it was mullet or mud minnows or fiddler
Yeah.
crabs. And he's like, that's something I love to do. I'm like, well, I'm like, you got time on the water. You've been on boats before. You're good with, you're a mechanic in a sense. I'm like, you ever think about becoming a captain? He's like, yeah, I would love that. So I proposed that idea to him, and he's like,
Uh,
yeah, I'd love to do that. And then another one of my employees like, yeah, I'd love to be on the water for, you know, couple hours a day, whatever it is, and sort through shrimp and do all that, and it's extra pay for these guys too, right? And with incentive, right? The more shrimp they catch, the more they get paid because they get a cut out of it.
mm.
So
So is this new, or
yeah,
did you buy this a while ago?
yeah, we bought it at the end of last year.
Oh,
So
okay.
like
Yeah.
things were going like shrimping wise were going great all the way up to that kind of that cold snap right in the first of the year, and
Right.
then shrimp just disappeared, and uh, and they kind of disappeared all the way up to the point of shrimp closure, which is April and May every year. So in Florida waters, they you can't drag in Florida waters for those 2 months because it allows those shrimp to come in and spawn and regenerate
Okay.
for
Yeah.
the future. So you have to drag 3 miles offshore in federal waters in order to catch shrimp. So
Okay.
we're in the process of doing some maintenance and whatnot, and we got a
Weighing
big
that out. Yeah.
big walk-in freezer now, so we could kind of get everything frozen and boxed up properly, and have a reserve of shrimp, and just kind of have a steady flow of everything, and take care of ourselves first, but definitely opens up other outlets for sales, and
That's
um,
exciting.
supplying shrimp for other people too.
That's exciting. I mean,
Yeah,
if I was to guess, I feel like it's probably been about 4 months or so where it's been a challenge to get fresh shrimp for fishing.
yeah.
Um, which
Really, since
must,
the start of the year, it's just like
yeah,
there's bait shrimp have been non-existent. Like inside,
yeah,
we would go out, and that was the frustrating part on my end, right? Where it's like, okay, well, we just spent all this money on a shrimp boat. Things were good. The problem was I didn't have the freezer space to store all these shrimp. So, we would do a drag and that would bring in 200, 250 pounds of shrimp. And we're like, okay, well, that's it for the day because that's all we can hold, right?
right.
But now that I get the walk in, or we built the walk in, we're like, all right, we're good with the walk in. Let's go out. Let's get some shrimp. And then a cold snap hits, and we're like, oh, there's no
Yeah.
shrimp whatsoever. Um, but I still wanted my guys getting reps and getting time on the water and learning. So we would go out once a week and see, kind of test the waters, if you will, and see um, if there was anything out there. But we do a drag, and that drag would be whatever, 45 minutes to an hour, and pull it up, and you have 6 pounds of shrimp. You're like, oh, I just burnt,
Uh,
however
a
much
lot.
money in
Yeah.
gas and wear and tear on the boat, and paying my employees, and paying Eddie for his time, and it's a learning experience, and it's training, but at the same time you kind of want something to come behind that. So
Yeah.
that's why we
Yeah.
we do that for once a week, and all the way up to shrimp closure, and June 1st we're gonna hit it hard, and hopefully it all is plentiful.
Yeah. Yeah. It will
Uh,
be. I
yeah.
mean,
Oh,
it sounds like a
fingers
great
crossed.
business move.
Yeah,
Definitely, being one who has observed the bait shrimp shortage.
yeah.
That's really smart. Well, cool. This has been really interesting, and congratulations on the
Thank you.
success of your businesses. And definitely, there's so many things, like you said, prime location, and yeah, the quality of it, the customer service, what you have, the hospitality, the actual merchandise, so many things. So that's good for you guys. Um, I do want to tell listeners that you can get some free goodies, even free golf cart or push cart rental at Amelia Shotgun Sports. Just go to dawngrant.com/free. And we have, some good stuff on our social media too. So be sure to check out any of the platforms for the social media. And Nik, can you give me or give us, your contact info?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So we got, again, the two shops, Amelia Island Bait and Tackle and Old Town Bait and Tackle. Um, and you could, reach us on Facebook at Amelia Island Bait and Tackle or Old Town. Facebook, I stay up with the most. I just find that it caters to the majority of our clientele. So I'm updating that constantly, with, live bait that we got and new inventory that comes in. And then probably most importantly is I use that as an outlet for our Old Town location too. And Old Town being, kind of that weather dependent place where, the morning is great and all of a sudden we get this big thunderstorm or it starts blowing 20. I just can't keep the doors open during those times because I lose so much money when that happens. So I always let people know, hey, if you're going fishing in this time, Old Town's gonna be closed, and come through Amelia Island Bait and Tackle too. So make it
Yeah.
all the way up there and have it be closed. So I hate doing that, and I love having consistency in my shops, but you can't keep the doors open if you got no money coming in, or
I
more
can
money
relate
going
to
out
that
than's
too.
coming in for sure.
Yeah, I can
But
relate to
yeah,
that. Yeah.
you could reach us on any of those outlets, or if you guys have any questions or need anything on, from me, you can email me at Nik, Nik, FAI, Bait and Tackle, all spelled out. If you're coming into town or just have, want a fishing report, need to know any information about tackle or whatever it is, drop by, say hi, and I'm happy to help.
Very cool, Nik. Well, again, congratulations
Thank you very
to you,
much.
your wife, your father, your mother, all of that. So,
Yeah.
so happy for you all, and the move and the success of the businesses and all. That's really, really cool for you.
Well, thank
So,
you. Appreciate you having
yeah,
me on.
yeah. Good chatting with you, and I'll see you soon.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for tuning in to the Mind Mastered Secrets of Excellence with Don Grant. Whether you're an elite athlete or pursuing success in your career or personal life, Don Grant's expertise and insights are here to guide you. Don't forget to visit dongrant.com/free to grab your exclusive free resources, hypnosis audios, mental training tools, and even a golf cart at her club. If you enjoyed today's episode, follow, rate, and share this podcast. Stay connected with Don on all social media platforms for more inspiration, tips, and updates. Remember, mastering your mind is the key to unlocking your full potential. Until next time, keep pushing your limits and striving for excellence.